It was a bitterly cold evening in a small Texas town where tumbleweeds whispered secrets across empty roads and the golden light of sunset cast long shadows on dust-covered streets. People bustled in and out of the diner, the grocery store, and the gas station, each absorbed in their lives, too hurried or too hardened to notice the little boy sitting by the bench outside the bakery. He looked no older than 7. His clothes hung from his tiny frame like forgotten rags, his eyes hollow but quietly hopeful. A torn flannel shirt shielded him from the wind, and in his trembling hands, he clutched a brown paper sign that read, "Just hungry. Anything helps." Every now and then, a passerby would glance his way, some with pity, some with disdain, but most simply looked through him, as if he didn't exist. He sat motionless, watching people walk by with armfuls of groceries and bags filled with warm bread, his stomach aching with each savory whiff. Still, he remained there, day after day, with a quiet kind of dignity, never demanding, just hoping. Then came the drunk man. Staggering out of a nearby bar, his boots unsteady and words slurred, he took one look at the boy and sneered. "Get a job, you little rat," he spat, before violently kicking the boy's cardboard sign and sending it flying into the street. The boy gasped, shrinking back, but it wasn't over. The man stumbled forward and shoved the boy to the ground, laughing as the child whimpered. The world around them seemed to freeze. People saw. They heard. But they did nothing. A woman with groceries averted her eyes. A man at the gas pump pretended to be on the phone. A teenage couple across the street giggled nervously, unsure whether to intervene. But someone did step forward. He wasn't loud. He wasn't flashy. In fact, most people barely noticed him until that moment. A quiet rancher, broad-shouldered, in a worn-out hat and muddy boots, had been leaning against his old pickup truck across the road, sipping coffee from a tin thermos. His name was Clint Morgan, a man known around town not for his wealth or status, but for the way he treated his animals with kindness and always tipped waitresses generously. He lived alone out on a modest ranch after losing his wife years ago, and rarely spoke unless there was something worth saying. Clint saw everything. The kick. The shove. The fear in the boy's eyes. He set down his thermos, crossed the street, and stood between the boy and the drunk. "That's enough," Clint said calmly, voice low and steady. The drunk man scoffed. "What are you gonna do, cowboy? He's not your kid." "No," Clint replied, his gaze unwavering, "but he's a child. And you're a grown man who just knocked him to the ground over a loaf of bread he didn't even ask for." The drunk took a step forward, but something in Clint's eyes made him pause. There was no rage in them, just a steady kind of strength. Like a man who had weathered many storms and didn't flinch from another. After a tense silence, the drunk man cursed under his breath and stumbled away, muttering about do-gooders and brats. Clint didn't watch him go. He knelt beside the boy instead, who sat frozen on the sidewalk, blinking through tears. "You all right, son?" Clint asked gently. The boy nodded, though his bottom lip quivered. Clint looked him over. He was thin, pale, and the bruises on his arms looked too old to be from just one encounter. "What's your name?" "Eli," the boy whispered. "Got folks around here?" Eli shook his head. "My mom, she got real sick. I was staying with someone for a while, but they said they couldn't keep me. Been out here since." Clint felt something twist deep in his chest. He remembered his own son, who would have been about Eli's age now, if fate had been kinder. But life didn't always make sense. Sometimes it gave you loss so sharp it changed the shape of you forever. Clint stood and offered his hand. "Come on. Let's get you something warm to eat." Eli hesitated, looking up with wary eyes. "You're not gonna yell at me?" "No," Clint said. "But I'm gonna make sure you get soup, bread, and maybe a slice of pie if you got room for it." Inside the diner, people watched as the grizzled rancher walked in with the filthy little boy. Some whispered, others simply stared. Clint didn't care. He sat Eli down, ordered him the largest meal on the menu, and quietly sipped his coffee while the boy ate like he hadn't in days. It wasn't just one meal. Clint took Eli back to his ranch that night. He had an extra room. Clean clothes. A warm bed. At first, Eli was quiet, always glancing toward the door like he might have to flee. But slowly, over days and then weeks, he started to smile. He followed Clint around the ranch, helping feed the horses and brush the goats. He learned how to ride, how to mend fences, how to laugh again. Clint enrolled him in school, bought him books, and taught him the value of hard work. Eli had a brilliant mind, sharp, curious, and kind. Under Clint's care, he blossomed. Years passed. The town began to forget the day the boy was kicked in the street. But Eli never did. Nor did he forget the man who knelt beside him when the world turned away. At his high school graduation, Eli stood before his classmates and told them, "I didn't come from much. I was that kid outside the bakery, hungry, scared, invisible. Until someone saw me. He didn't just give me food, he gave me a chance to be more than what the world expected of me." Clint sat in the crowd, eyes misty beneath his old hat. Eventually, Eli earned a scholarship and studied to become a lawyer, specifically, one who helped children who'd fallen through the cracks of the system. And every Thanksgiving, without fail, he returned to that ranch in Texas with fresh-baked pies and a heart full of gratitude. One year, while sitting on the porch watching the sunset, Eli turned to Clint and said, "Why did you help me that day? You didn't even know me." Clint thought for a moment. "I didn't need to know you, son. I just knew what it felt like to be hurt. And no one should ever feel that alone." In that quiet moment, beneath the orange sky and the gentle rustle of the wind, Eli leaned over and hugged the man who had saved him. "You weren't just kind to me," he whispered. "You gave me back my future." And Clint, with tears in his eyes, whispered back, "You gave me back mine, too." Because sometimes, the smallest act of kindness isn't small at all. It's the spark that lights the way for someone else to rise. And in a world often quick to look away, one quiet rancher reminded everyone what it means to simply step in.